Welcome to Sikbaggers YouTube channel. I'm Steve, and today we're going to be taking a little bit of time to clean up the bars, all of this stuff going on the bars up here on the Whiskey Project. I thought it'd be a good idea to get some of this stuff on video for you guys because it's not really hard to change these parts, but a lot of guys maybe aren't familiar with how this stuff comes apart. If you watched our past video, we actually installed the bars on the bike, and I just kind of put all of the stock stuff back on. So maybe if you were just changing your bars and you already had a bike that had all this dressed up in here, it shows you how to put it back together. But today we're going to be finishing up cleaning up the bars, and what I mean by that is getting these stock levers off. We're going to get some black Kuryakyn Boss blades on here. I run the Boss blades on the street light over there. Absolutely loved them. So I looked and they had a black version, so we're going to get those installed. And then I'm also going to show you guys how to change your grip. All the grips on the market on the left hand side get installed a little bit different, but as far as the throttle by wire bikes that are on the market today, that side over there is pretty much the same. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, none of this is really hard to do, but maybe a lot of guys aren't familiar with how this stuff comes apart. And if you haven't watched a video on it, we're going to make one today. The levers up here, getting these stock levers off of your bike, we use the Kuryakyn Boss blades, the chrome version, over on the street glide. Absolutely loved them. They were an easy install, no modifications needed to put them on. So I looked them up and they had a black version, so we're going to be installing the black version of the Boss blades on here today, the levers. We'll also cover the grips. The grips aren't super difficult to do, but once again, if you've never done it before, this will give you a little walkthrough on how to get your grips changed. We are also going to address mirrors, which is a very easy install. Pretty much anybody can figure that out, but we're going to put some mirrors on here, and we're going to address the reservoir covers. Every one of these bikes that I've seen have been corroded like this. You can see where the fluid has actually came out and got on the cap right there and corroded the crap out of it. So we're going to be getting those changed today with some Joker machines. I ran the Joker machines on the 14 Street Glide over there. They were chrome and they had like the slots and stuff. And these that we're putting on this bike are just flat and they're black. We wanted the paint and the fat tire kit on this to really draw the most attention. So the rest of this stuff has just been kind of smooth and black. So not to draw attention away from those things, we went with the smooth cap. So all of this stuff that we're putting on here outside of the grips, which are actually Harley Davidson, all of this stuff was purchased from getlowered.com. If you guys watched our videos in the past, once again, you'll know that we deal a lot with Get Lowered. Absolutely love that place. I've been dealing with Get Lowered for probably the last 3 years now, all the way through the 14 Street Glide build over there. Anything that I needed for the bike went straight to the website. They had it. If they didn't have it, I gave them a call and they got it for me. So pretty cool. Easy to work with, guys. The prices are on point. Check out the website though. They don't just have parts on there. They have a lot of riding gear, helmets, all kinds of stuff. So just check out the rest of the website too while you're there. I'll actually put the link to these items that we're putting on here today down in the description as well. Today we've got Arlen Ness mirrors going on. We've got the Kuryakyn Boss blades, and we have the Joker machine reservoir covers. Those are all from getlowered.com. But without further ado, guys, let's get the camera over here and get this started. So we're going to start with the reservoir covers here, guys. They're pretty easy. The hardest part about this is actually getting them where they're level enough that when you take the caps off, you're not losing fluid. Remember, this fluid is very corrosive to paint. Got everything covered up down here. If we get any drips, we've got an extra towel to get some oil up if we need to. Your stock ones are Phillips head. So I've got my bars tilted back. Just start removing these screws and start seeing if you get any leaks here. You do have a seal in here, but my bars are kicked back a little bit, so I've had to turn the handlebars a little bit to get them flat. Another good way to change these is actually set on the bike. When you set on the bike, you can turn the handlebars and actually lean the bike because it's just simply 2 screws. So that way that you make sure you got these as level as you can get them and not lose a bunch of fluid. You may see a little fluid loss. Make sure you don't jerk it up because it's on the bottom of that gasket too. So you don't want this fluid actually going everywhere. So like I said, the ones we have going on today are really flat, really smooth, just black. So we're going to get these open. There is a clutch and a brake side. You cannot flip these over and just take this one and flip it over and put on that side. It's not how it works. So when you order these, you need to make sure that you're getting the clutch side and the brake side. So we need to reuse this rubber gasket that's on our stock one. I just use an old towel, kind of dry it up a little bit so we're not slinging brake fluid everywhere. That just simply pulls off just like that. Then you just simply reinstall it the way you took it off the other one. Make sure it sets all the way down, and now we're ready to install it. So when you set this back in, this rubber gasket may push down into your fluid and actually let it overflow a little bit. So just be careful, go slow about it. Set it back down on there. Get your screws in. Now, because we don't want the same thing to happen to this one that happened to the stock one, because we do have a little brake fluid on our fingers and there's a little bit on the cap now, we're going to use a degreaser and actually get that off of there. Now this next part, guys, we're gonna do this kind of all in one, but you can kind of follow along if you're changing your grips or if you're changing your levers. On the brake side, it's fairly simple. For this grip, a lot of these grips are installed different. The stock ones are actually glued on, and there's a plastic piece, a lip that goes under this and gets clamshelled on your switch housing cover. Some of them, like the Arlen Ness ones, butt right up against it and it just gets glued on. So depending on what you have on your bike, on the clutch side, this could differ. So you need to look and see what you've got. These are all chewed up from when we did the bars, because I had to actually take channel locks and bust the glue off because I wanted to reinstall them in that video just to show you how they were reinstalled. If I was doing that and changing these grips, I would have just simply cut these off and threw them in the trash. So on the clutch side, you've got a bolt here on the back of your switch housing and another bolt down here. You also have to remove your little tripometer button right here, and that's very easy to get off. Make sure that it's pushed up. If you take a little flathead screwdriver and go right in the middle and push up, there's a little tab in there. Once you get that tab pushed up, you can pull this towards you just like that and pull it off. It's very easy to put it back on. You just slide it on, but get it up under here, push up on that tab and pull it towards you and it'll come right off. Once you get those off, you just have the top screw and the bottom screw to take the clamshell off. So watch that the front doesn't come falling off. Kind of hold it all together. Your perches aren't going to go anywhere because they're actually attached clamshelled up here, your perch and the perch mount. So once you get those screws loose, you can take this cover and just kind of wiggle it off the front. You want to be very careful, just wiggle that right off the front. Now in order to get the back off, we've got the cap off already, and we're actually going to loosen the two screws on the perch mount. There's just two bolts right here on the front. They're actually Torx 25 as well. So you can get those loose. Take the front half of your perch mount and set it off to the side. Now your perch is going to be loose from the handlebars. You can pull it back just like that. Now you can set that down. You can wrap it up in a bag. We already have everything protected down here with a towel. So now that you've got this off, you can pull this backside off. Be very careful when you're pulling that off. You have a ribbon on the bottom of this switch housing. You do not want to damage that ribbon. And with this grip, like I said, it may be glued, it may not be glued. This one was already glued and we just stuck it back on. So you want to get that one off. So the ones we're going to be installing today are the Harley Davidson Dominion grips. I saw this whole line last year, wasn't a real big fan of it. The rest of the stuff that goes with this looks just very dirt bikey to me. The boards and all that stuff is just a bunch of rough cut stuff. Wasn't a big fan of it. I got reintroduced to these from a buddy of mine down in Florida, Nathan Deegan. He builds bikes down there, and he said, check out the Dominion grips. They're pretty cool. The rest of the line's not really that great, but the grips were actually pretty cool. So we picked these up at Harley Davidson. Now before we install that one, we're going to take apart the throttle side as well. Your throttle side grip will only go on one way. So we want to set this one, see how the grip lays out, because there is a pattern on that grip. We want to match the pattern on the other side. Take the two screws out of the back of the switch housing. Same thing we did on the other side. Go ahead and pull the front off. Now we can't get the back until we release the perch here. Got that housing, we can lay that off to the side. Now when you're taking the brake side off, you can take this off as a whole and then pull this off. But there's a specific way that this goes back on. We're going to set that off to the side once again. Lay it down there on the towel where it doesn't scratch anything. Slide that over slightly, and we're going to pull our grip off. Now with these grips, you're going to have one that has a smooth line all the way around it, and this side over here has these kind of like tapered, popped up edges on there. This is going to be for your clutch side. This is going to be your throttle side. You can always tell by actually sticking it on there, getting it all the way on. If you can turn it and feel your throttle moving, you've got the right side. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this free video. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you want to check out the channel, we got 120 something bagger related videos. There's a ton. Check out the channel and make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. That's what keeps us coming out here into the shop and doing these videos for you. All of our videos are always free all the time. We don't ask for donations. We don't do Patreon. We don't do any secret squirrel Facebook things where you have to pay us money to join and all. Everything is free all the time on this channel. So make sure you check us out. Find us over on Instagram, find us over on Facebook. If you want to get a hold of some bagger swag, that's where you can find it over on Facebook. We do a pre-order about 5 to 6 times a year. Put your order in, you get t-shirts, hoodies, koozies, all that good stuff. But find us over there. But I'm gonna let you guys get back to the video. I just wanted to stop a second and let you guys know that I appreciate the hell out of every one of you guys. Back to it. So these actually have a design on the end that say HDMC. So I'm going to try to get that as straight as I can. Just like that. Line those gears up. Make sure that you push it all the way on. Throttle by wire sensor right here has little grooves, little teeth in it, and there's little teeth in here. You need to make sure that that's pushed all the way on. Make sure your logo is pretty straight. Give it a little turn. That's where you want to install it. So our switch housings have these grooves in them. These grooves have to go around this groove on the handlebars. That's what holds the handlebar in place. So we'll take the front one and we'll put it on. If it doesn't go around that, actually just gently pull your switches over just a little bit. There's enough play in there to move that over. You're going to set the back on. Go ahead and run your screws in. Just kind of snug them up for right now. Now if you twist your throttle and you let go and it doesn't bounce back like that and it's stuck, you've got all of this too tight. You need to take this whole assembly and pull it this way a little bit. What it's doing is it's pulling everything up on the bar really hard, and these teeth down here are just kind of smashed in, and it's super tight and you can't let go. You want to make sure you can roll the throttle both ways. There's also a fine line of bringing them out too far this way, because then your teeth are barely touching and you're going to end up stripping those out. Go ahead and tighten your switch housing screws down. You're going to bring your perch back up, get it into place. Now when you're putting this one in, you have to put it on the bar and squeeze the brake in a little bit so it passes. There's a switch in here that it needs to pass by. So if you pull that in slightly, just like that, it'll go into place. You want to hold that in place just like that while you get the front back on. So I can just kind of sandwich all this together, get my screws started, take the Torx 25. Now with it snug but not tight, I would actually set on the bike and roll this whole system the way that I need it. If you set on the bike and your brake or your clutch levers are too far down or too far up, you can loosen the switch housing screws, loosen these, and rotate this whole thing as a unit and get it exactly where you want it, and then tighten it down. Now with this style grip from Harley, this is going to go on and kind of stop. If you push it the rest of the way on, that's where it sticks. If you're right there, you can see we're too far away. So what we want to do is match up the pattern with the other grip. I'm going to look at the pattern where it says HDMC, and if we put that on fairly straight, that should be about where we need it. You can look over here and see where this one lays out when it's in the resting position and kind of try and match them up, and then you're just going to push it on. These two little grooves on here, on this front side, you got a piece of aluminum here that has to go under that. So you want to get it fairly straight, make sure the lip is under over here, and go ahead and push it on the rest of the way. Pull our switch housings back over. Now once you have that in place, you can put your switch cover back on the front. Grooves again. This is going to overlap this big groove. This is what holds the grip on without gluing it on. When you slide your back on, just make sure that you're not hitting this ribbon right here. You're not pinching that in any way. Go ahead and slide that back on. It'll kind of clamshell together once it's in the right place. And once you have that in place, you can go ahead and run your screws in. So just snug those down right now. Don't tighten them up because there's a specific length of this right here that needs to set in the handlebars in this groove. And if it's too tight, it's not going to go on there. You got plenty of room. You can actually push it in, make sure it's all snug together. Go ahead, get the front of your clamp back on. Once again, just kind of holding this side together. Now on the clutch side, you don't have to push in to get this to set in there. Only on the right hand side, the brake side, do you have to push that lever in to get it to go in all the way. Once we're satisfied with where everything is, we'll go ahead and tighten up the switch housing cover. We're just going to suck that down, and that's actually going to help hold that grip on. The only thing left we have to do is put our tripometer switch back on. You're going to take it, slide it in until it snaps. You're going to line up the little grooves and just push this way until you hear a snap. Now we're going to do the levers, guys. Another pretty easy install. I've got the Kuryakyn blades here just so you can see what they look like a little bit better. Nice and thick through here, nice smooth edge on it. It doesn't really cut into your fingers like some of the other levers that we've used. Of course, they do have these in chrome or black. The very first thing that you need to do is you see this pin right here. That's where your lever kind of rotates around. On the bottom side here, you're going to have a little C-clip. So unless you're really good with a pick or something to get that C-clamp off, or if you have one of these C-clamp tools, you just need to get under there, pull that apart, and pull that C-clamp off. And make sure it doesn't shoot across the garage in the process. Now once you have the C-clip out of the bottom, you can just simply push the pin up, pull that out just like that. On the clutch side, you can simply pull that lever right out. So on the clutch side of the bike, you've got this little wheel that helps this rotate. You just get a screwdriver underneath that and pop that up. That'll come right out. So you see right here, you got these two little prongs that come down. Just remember that goes just like that. We want to add a little bit of new grease to this, and we're going to put it in the new lever. I'm going to take your new lever, just like you pulled it out, you're going to put it right back in. Push that down into place. Now you can use any kind of grease on that, guys. I use Lucas Red and Tacky. You can pick it up at the auto parts store. I use it pretty much everything on this bike. So just put a little bit of new grease on there to help that move around. We're also going to put a little bit of that grease in there where that pin went. We're going to do both sides. Get a little bit in there, clean up your mess. Just make sure you got grease down in that hole where that pin goes. You're just simply going to set this one back in. You're going to feel it spring a little bit, let it push in, put your pin back in, push that one back down into place, wipe off your little extra grease you got there, put your C-clip back on the bottom side, and this side is done. On the brake side, it's a little bit more time consuming because this side you have to take the switch housing covers off, just like when we did the grips. 2 screws out of the back. Now, if you remember when we were doing the grips, you can't get the back off unless the perch is off. So once again, we're going to remove. So we're going to loosen the bolts for the perch. Just hang on to everything so it doesn't go falling down when you take that final bolt out. That bolt out. Now this is all going to come apart. You've got your front, and then you can take your back off kind of all together. Here's the back. Now this grip's not going to stay on by itself. I'm just going to set that off to the side until we get this taken apart. So we've already got our C-clip out of the bottom. We're going to push this pin up, pull it out, Just like that. So with the brake side, the reason why you have to take it all apart is to get this piece out here. With this, sets on a ball inside here, and this just won't simply pull out with everything connected. So you take that down and then you slide that right out just like that. You can see right there on our new one, that little ball. So we're gonna put a little dab of grease in there, and then once again, grease our hole for the pin. Just like that, we have everything greased up, ready to go. You have this little plastic pin thing here, plunger kind of sticking out. That's where that little spot goes. So we're gonna slide that in, making sure that right there that lined up. We're gonna put our pin back in. Now once you have that in, I recommend that you go ahead and put your C-clip back on. It's much easier to do it here than it is to do it looking under the bike up at it. So putting this back together is pretty easy. I'm gonna go ahead and put my throttle on, make sure that that's pushed all the way up. I just kind of stand in front of it. You're gonna get your switch housing put back on the front. You're gonna grab the back of your switch housing. You're gonna go ahead and put it on. You can go ahead and start these screws on the back. Then you're gonna pull your perch up into place. In order to get this one back on, same thing as when we did the grips earlier, you have to pull this lever in, and then it'll go into place just like that. That has to go around that switch in there. So you have to pull the lever in, push the perch on. Once you get it on, grab your front, get your bolts started back again. Now because we've had all of this off, just like when we changed the grips, we want to make sure we don't have everything too tight. You want to roll your throttle both ways, make sure it snaps back to the neutral position. Go ahead and tighten down the back switch housing to the front of the switch housing. And then you can come around here to your perch and go ahead and finish tightening that down as well. You want to double check and make sure everything is working correctly. And you're good. Now all we have left to do is mount our mirrors. We're done. These are actually the Arlen Ness mini mirrors. They're very small, and I'm not quite sure yet how I'm gonna mount them to the Road Glide. I don't know if I'm gonna go up or down. We have our Performance Machine mirrors mounted down, and that's a question that I get quite a bit. Guys see that I have my mirrors mounted down and they ask me, how do I like it? I've been running them like that for 3 years, and I absolutely love them like that. You would think that with the mirrors being down like this, and you've got your arm up here, and you're just gonna be looking at your armpit and all that. You're really not, guys. You're really gonna adjust this mirror to see out the side and behind you. So putting them here or putting them here, you're really only talking about 6 to 7 inches difference, and just adjusting the mirror is still going to show you exactly what you see from up here. Now these are universal mirrors, so you are going to get 2 different size bolts. You're going to get a longer, thinner one, and then a shorter, fatter one. On these Harley perches on here, you're going to need that longer, skinnier one to go in there. So you've got all this thread and then a little spacer and more thread. That little spacer, you're going to use the short side to go in your mirrors. You can see inside there, it's pretty small. It's not very deep. Blue Loctite, of course. We're going to go ahead and run this in. We're going to tighten it all the way down. Now, if you want to see what they look like up, we can just change the other mirror. Blue Loctite once again. We can run them through the top. Put our nut on the bottom. We can actually see what they look like up. Now these mirrors are mini, so I may go ahead and mount them here. I'll turn this to where I can think I'm going to be able to see out of, and I can adjust them after I get on the bike. So I'm going to get them installed, see which way I like them, up or down, and then we'll get them locked down and we'll go from there. So that's pretty much it, guys. If you've thought about changing any of those 4 things, that's kind of give you a walkthrough on how to do it. It's not super complicated. It's not anything that you need to pay anybody to do. If you got a couple of wrenches, you can get this done at home. by yourself. Like I said in the beginning of the video, guys, it wasn't going to be a super big install. We've did quite a few of those in the last month, so I just kind of wanted to bring it back a little bit and do a little bit of more smaller things for you guys. And this really finished up the look on the bars. And guys, don't forget, I got all of this stuff over at getlowered.com. The Joker machine, the Arlen, Ness, the Kuryakyn, they pretty much carry everything. So don't forget to check out getlowered.com. Like I said, I'll put the link to them down in the description, but I'll also put the link to these individual pieces down in the description as well. I hope that video helped you. You guys know the deal. If you have any questions or comments, comment section down below. I'm gonna get out of here and get my butt back to work. And until the next video, as always, be safe, keep your knees in the breeze. Thanks for checking out the YouTube video, guys. If you like what you see, make sure you hit the subscribe button over here. Over 100 bagger related videos on our YouTube channel. But to get you started, maybe you can check out this one or this one. Just one of them. Not really gonna say anything else. Just click the button, man. It'll just